Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here? Young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady, who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly. I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
Matt, she comes from a family of military service members. Her father's is a retired military service member also, who served this nation well with great dignity.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman. What white people need to understand
Just
is that,
white people?
Yes, please, let me explain. That national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner.
Oh, here we go.
Who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. Go research the third verse where he says, "There's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave. Both should be turmoil to the grave."
How's her parents do it?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask Jewish children to say a pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why?
you would not.
You certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that.
America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her.
Two different
America
things.
demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others
What
like
would you
her,
like
support that young
What
girl.
would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country, and some who gave their
And
lives.
ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves afterwards. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggas in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then
So
why don't you move
right.
to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So this not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
you
not
all need to go back where you came
if
from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go, and I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
What you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell. Get their opinion too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Liam. Before we even get into this clip, I need y'all to sit up straight. Because what you're about to see is not just another debate. This is the same tired, insulting argument white America has been throwing at black people for generations. If you don't like it here, why don't you leave? Let me say that again so it sinks in. A grown white man looked at a 10-year-old black girl, a child whose father served this country, and basically told her that if she won't stand for the pledge, she doesn't belong in America. Not, let's talk about why she feels that way. Not, maybe there's history behind this. Just straight up, pack your bags. And that, right there, is the real American tradition when it comes to black people. Extract the loyalty. Demand the sacrifice. Take the blood. Then, when we dare to remember the full story, tell us to get out. This little girl didn't invent the pain. She inherited it. Her father wore the uniform. Her family paid the price. And still, when she refuses to perform patriotism on command, the response is leave. Family, that is not patriotism. That is ownership mentality. That is the same energy that said black people were property, then said we were free but not equal, then said we could fight and die for democracy abroad while being denied it at home. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what was said, the history they keep trying to erase, and why that "just leave" line is one of the most dishonest and dangerous things you can say to black Americans. Because the truth is simple and brutal. Black people have been fighting for this country since before it was even a country, and every single time, the bill came due, and America bounced the check. 40 acres and a mule, stolen back. GI Bill, weaponized against us. Full citizenship, still has an asterisk. So when they ask, why are you still here? The real question should be, why do they keep demanding our loyalty while refusing to deliver justice? Stick with me. We're going all the way in. No soft language, no both sides nonsense. Just the receipts. Let's get into this.
That Fox 26 interview with Quanell was not about the little black girl who did not want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. That debate was about who gets to belong and who doesn't. Because Quanell explained calmly and historically why a little black child may not want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, or the national anthem for that matter. He explained how the man who wrote that anthem was a slave owner who despised black people. He explained how black soldiers fought, bled, and then came home to a country that still called them slurs, still denied them the same freedoms they went and fought for those white people to have. He explained that freedom in America has always come with an asterisk for us. And so what did that white man do? He interrupted, he overtalked, he continued to dodge accountability, and then he pulled the oldest card in the book. Well, if you don't like it, why don't you just leave? And that question right there is the tell. Because white Americans cannot fathom why black and brown people will criticize a country that we still stay in. And that is because white Americans' nationalism is their identity, not principles. See, black, brown, and indigenous people have peoplehood. We have lineage, we have memory, we have culture that's older than the American flag. Our identity exists with or without America. And white Americans don't have that. Because remember, most of them were not nobles. They were not royalty. They were Europe's cast-offs, criminals, rapists, debtors, and the violently poor that were exported to stolen land. The society that put them on the bottom of the hierarchy rid themselves of them and then shipped them here where they built up a hierarchy that put them at the top. They invented whiteness to cling to. They invented something that gave them a sense of identity, something they could invent that made them think they were superior, and indoctrinated everyone else by threat of violence and force and death to believe that what they were inventing was true. They wrapped their entire self-worth in a nation that they felt that they could finally dominate. And that is why they cling to that flag, to the anthems, to the pledge, because that's all they have. So when we say, hey, this country harms us, they don't hear a call to repair. They instead hear a threat to their identity. When Quanell told him all the reasons why black people believe that we should not have to stand up for an anthem or pledge our allegiance to a country that's never put us anywhere but at the bottom, that white man said, well, then why don't you leave? Because they hear a threat to their identity, that's why the solution is always for us to leave. But here's the part they choke on, just like Quanell said. This country ain't theirs. This country was stolen from indigenous people, built by enslaved Africans, and maintained by exploited labor. We didn't come here chasing some dream. Our ancestors were brought here in chains. So don't ask us why we stay. Ask yourselves why you won't leave. I believe they will not leave because deep down they know that this nation, this country, this America is the only thing standing between them and finding out who they really are, the type of people they really come from. And that's why a black child choosing to sit down for the Pledge of Allegiance threatens you, terrifies you, because it's not disrespectful, it's honest. Black people's relationship with white people in America has been one of narcissistic abuse, and it's just like a narcissist to say, don't talk about all the ways in which I hurt you. Congratulate me for giving you the smallest bit. Tell me how great I am. Don't look too closely about the wrongs I've done because that didn't happen. Just like a narcissist.
Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here?
Tell me why they ask us, why don't we leave when they brought us here, right? I didn't ride over here on a boat because we wanted to. Our family was brought here out of no goodwill and used as slaves. And on top of that, to this day, people still fight like this white man on the screen talking about how, well, why don't you leave? Well, why don't we all stop the hate? because that's all this is. To have any kind of disregard for a different race, you purely and basically are saying, I'm dumb. Because what do you mean? Different cultures are beautiful. Different ethnicities are beautiful. Even the white people.
Defends Mexicans and Native Americans.
I told everybody that I'm in remission. I am cancer free. And I want to thank everybody that has prayed for me, that has come up to me and been so kind to me. And you know what? The immigrant-free day. I think about these individuals. You know something? When you do what I did, when you work hard, when you do what you're told, when you go where you're supposed to go, and you pray to God, then good things happen. If one day you decide you're going to do none of those things, then what may happen is exactly what happened to these so-called immigrants, many of them illegal, who decided not to go to work a particular day to somehow get across some kind of message. They get fired the next day. Welcome to America.
Matt, you know, I am happy that you're in remission. To God be the glory. But it is amazing how you could beat cancer and be in remission and your heart still be so cold and hard. It is amazing how you would speak that way about immigrants when you call them so-called immigrants. You're right, they're so-called immigrants.
Some are illegal.
Because they're only coming back home. Texas, Arizona, and California were stole from the Mexicans. So they're so-called immigrants because they're coming back home. And when you speak about if you work hard and do the right thing and be good to people, well, guess what? That's not the history or the legacy of your ancestors.
You got to come through the front door.
White folk didn't come through the front door. White folk kicked open the back door and killed everything else in between to conquer America.
Well, why do you,
they were not good to people that they met. They didn't show hospitality to the Indians.
Avoid what we're talking about.
They didn't do that.
Here.
They weren't hospitable.
You're trying to avoid what we're talking about here, and you're going to go back 200-300 years.
What I'm trying to do.
Why don't we talk about what's taking place over the weekend?
What I'm trying to do is try to tell white people like you, stop throwing rocks at the immigrants when you all live in a glass house. You all didn't come to America the right way or the godly way.
Yes, you do. You do the things the correct way. And in 2017, the correct thing to do is come through the front door. And these are people that snuck into this country. And so we're all supposed to allow that to happen? That's not how it works. You're not going to get what you're looking for. And you got to work. You got to come through the front door. I understand that.
I'm saying they should not have to sneak back into a territory that the legacy of that territory belonged to their own people. But let's just say for the sake of the law, they broke the law. Okay, I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, brother, where is the human compassion that the ancestors of Indians showed your community? You all won't show that to nobody else. But you want it all showed to you.
Let's stay in America. There was no America back, what you're talking about. You're taking something and trying to turn it into something that it's not. Let's talk about the rules and the laws that exist in the United States of America.
This is America, but America the beautiful has been America the ugly toward too many people of color. And all we want is the same thing you all enjoy, the complexion for the protection.
Well, I tell you what,
all got in America. We don't have that.
Do that when somebody crosses your property line and wants to come into your home and sit down in your living room and eat out of your refrigerator without ever asking you or without being a member of your family.
All the immigrants are not doing that. So stop that, brother. That's a hype. That's a lie, and it's racist, man.
It's not a hype. It's exactly what they want.
They're not all doing that.
He was talking bad about Mexicans, and he got put in his place.
Governor Greg Abbott wants to make sure that Houston, the city of Houston, is put under the same microscope as any city that isn't allowed legally to be the quote-unquote sanctuary city. And this is what we do here in the city of Houston. People come into the city of Houston illegally. They're allowed to stay. There is only so much that our law enforcement officers are willing to do, that the DEA is willing to do, that the border agents are willing to do. Why in the world don't we go after those that are here? Well, that's what Abbott wants to change, and I agree. And as soon as we make sure that in the state of Texas, if Houston keeps conducting itself the same way that San Antonio and other cities conduct themselves, then no money is coming to Houston from the state. We need to do that on a state level. We also need to do it on a federal level.
But, Matt, my problem with this is, why are we so worried about getting rid of all of the Mexicans or Hispanics that are quote-unquote here, if they're illegal or not? At the end of the day, many of them are paying taxes. Many of them have been here for generations and decades. And, Matt, Trying to get rid of 4 or 5 or 3 million people all at once is not going to work. We don't have the resources.
We don't have to do it all at once.
And secondly, Matt, listen, there is no such thing as an illegal Mexican immigrant coming into Texas because they're only coming home. Texas, Arizona, and California was stole from the Mexicans.
Don't start
this
that now,
all
man.
belongs
Don't
to them.
start that
So
now,
they're
man.
only coming home, and then here it is, you white folks stole the land from the Indians, but yet you're the natural, real illegal immigrant.
So let's start with the things you said that are already wrong. First of all, they're coming here. They're not paying any taxes. You're telling me they're paying taxes? They're not paying taxes because nobody knows who the heck they are. No, they're not paying any taxes.
Matt, when they buy a product, they pay a tax on it.
Let's continue.
When they buy a car, they pay a tax on it.
You come into this country illegally. That is a law that you're breaking. And that's why they have to be sent back to wherever they came from. They want to come through the front door. That is the correct way to come in. And the city of Houston has to stop allowing this, or we're never going to get them to stop coming in here. Look,
Matt,
that's what we got to do. Follow the law.
But Matt, where is the compassion that the indigenous Indians had for white people in this country?
Why do you keep going backwards?
They let you all come in.
What are you going
and
backwards?
And you came in and raised a whole lot of hell.
Don't start.
Trump
Start
called
bringing up
Mexicans
history to try and
rapists.
explain
He called
what's
them
going on
criminals.
today.
Trump called the Mexicans illegal criminals coming into America. But the biggest illegal criminal ever coming to America was white people.
So you don't give a damn if people break into this country?
I don't give a damn.
I wonder what's going to happen when they come and rob your house.
I don't give a damn about hypocrites who came here illegally and stole all of this and now want to blame them for only coming back home. To all of the Mexicans, don't worry about this. Just keep having babies, and in 30 years, all these white folks will be under your control.
To Americans, let's stand up and do what the hell we're supposed to do and stop letting the city of Houston be an open door. This ain't no sanctuary city.
Don't listen to that.
This is a real city.
Just keep having.
I think this is a fantastic law. It is time to start enforcing the laws that are on the books instead of the state and local officials legislating from their own little tiny offices.
It's an awful law because it's nothing more than a legal way for law enforcement to racially profile Mexicans and Hispanics. I would say to the Hispanic and Mexican community, what you got to do now, hook up with the black community and unite in political power, because if Mexicans and black people unite in Texas, we can control the governor, we can control the lieutenant governor, and we can control politics in Texas, period. I'm saying to the Latino brothers and sisters, don't fight them by yourself. If you hook up with black people and we unite, I'm telling you, we can run Texas and then pass laws to deal with those who hate us.
You're advocating for criminal activity, Quanell. These people are not here lawfully. They need to do what our ancestors did, what many Mexicans have done.
No, wait a minute.
Many, don't interrupt me.
Your ancestors came here illegally. Wasn't nothing legal about your ancestors.
Listen.
They came illegally and they murdered, they raped, they pillaged a whole race of people. This country, Texas, Arizona, and California, belongs to the Mexicans.
Quanell, get back
it was
to the
stole from them.
You
so
tell
when
me
you
to
quote
get back
your
to the point.
ancestors, they came here illegally.
You're not being fair to me here. You say stay on topic. I say, okay, we'll stay on topic. And then as soon as we start talking about illegal immigration,
your ancestors.
You go back to the black issue. Let's stay on topic.
Your ancestors are the master illegal immigrants.
Give me the opportunity to respond in that, you know what? We're all Americans here. And if you are here legally, absolutely, then we need to come together and we need to pass good laws for enforcing the laws.
Well, perhaps the Native Americans should have passed laws against your ancestors.
Did y'all hear that? Why don't you go to a different country? A white man sitting comfortably on stolen land, looking at a black child whose ancestors built this nation's wealth with unpaid labor, and telling her to leave. Let me be crystal clear so nobody pretends they misunderstood me. That is not a good faith question. That is a threat dressed up as curiosity. It is the modern version of know your place. Now, watch how quickly the conversation shifts when history enters the room. The moment someone starts talking about Francis Scott Key being a slave owner, the moment someone mentions black soldiers fighting in the Revolution and still coming home to chains, the moment Vietnam vets came back to the same N-word they left, suddenly the other side gets loud, interrupts, and falls back on the oldest dodge in the book. If you hate it so much, leave. They never want to debate the history. They want to silence it. Let's talk about that history because they hope you don't know it. After the Civil War, General Sherman issued Special Field Order Number 15, 40 acres and a mule, land, a real chance at economic independence for people who had been property. For a brief second, the United States admitted that freedom without land is just a slower form of slavery. Then Andrew Johnson became president and reversed it. The land was given back to the same Confederates who had just tried to destroy the country. Black veterans and freed people were left with nothing but sharecropping and terror. That was the first big bounce check. Fast forward to World War II. Black men fought fascism overseas, came home, and the GI Bill, the greatest wealth-building program in American history, was deliberately administered in a way that locked most black veterans out. Local banks and officials, especially in the South, refused loans. Black colleges were underfunded. Housing covenants and redlining kept black families out of the suburbs that white veterans used to build generational wealth. Same uniform, same sacrifice, different outcome, on purpose. This is not a few bad apples. This is a pattern. Extract black labor and black blood when the nation is in danger. Then, when the danger passes, deny the full benefits of citizenship and call it individual responsibility. And when a black child grows up seeing that pattern in her own family and decides she will not perform empty loyalty, the response is outrage, not reflection. Outrage. They act like standing for the pledge is the highest form of patriotism. But real patriotism would be making the country worthy of that pledge. Real patriotism would mean keeping the promises made to the people who bled for it. Instead, we get lectures from people whose ancestors got the land, the loans, the education, and the benefit of the doubt, while ours got the backlash, the lynchings, the red lines, and the "why don't you leave?" Let me say something that makes some people uncomfortable. Black Americans do not need permission to criticize this country. We have earned the right through blood, every generation, and no, we will not leave. Not because we love every part of America, but because our labor, our brilliance, our dead are already in the soil. This is not a hotel. We are not guests. We are the unpaid co-founders who were never given equity. When they say, if you don't like it, leave, what they really mean is, stop reminding us of the debt. Stop making us look at the receipts. Be quiet and be grateful for the scraps. We are done being quiet. That little girl standing, or refusing to stand, is not the problem. The problem is a nation that still gets more offended by a child's refusal to perform than by centuries of broken promises. That's the real scandal. Look, family, I'm not here to tell you what to feel. I'm here to make sure the full story gets told, because the sanitized version is killing us. Black veterans have been used as props for American democracy while being denied the substance of it. That is not opinion. That is the historical record. If this video made you mad, good. Sit with that anger and then channel it into knowledge, into organizing, into refusing the gaslighting. If it made you think, even better, share it. Comment with the history you were never taught in school. And if you're one of those people who still wants to say, just leave, understand this. We are not going anywhere. We built too much. We buried too many. And the debt is still outstanding. Drop a like if you made it this far. Subscribe if you want more of this unfiltered history. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Stay dangerous with the truth. Peace.